VOD watchers, welcome in to the Red Dead Redemption 2 with a Therapist wrap-up show. This is tradition around here. We like to do wrap-ups after we finish long playthroughs. It's an opportunity for us to relive favorite moments, for me to take questions from chat, to talk about anything and everything there is to talk about with the game. I will also share some of my thoughts about the actual gameplay and things like that, stuff that I didn't talk about during the playthrough. I did a little bit. But I am an open book for these streams. We're going to share just kind of our favorite moments and watch a few clips, stuff like that. And I think it'll be a lot of fun. We've had a lot of fun doing these with The Last of Us and with Mass Effect and all of that. So usually what we do is I just kind of allow chat to tag me with whatever questions they have, with sharing their thoughts about the playthrough, anything like that. The only thing that I ask chat in this is that you please do not include information or talk about stuff that did not happen in my playthrough. So I know that there are things that I didn't do. I know that I did not finish the Strauss missions, for example. I know that we never found Gavin. I know that, I am well aware that there are strangers we never met, and that I finished at 82% for anybody who's wondering. So please do not talk about alternative stuff or things that didn't happen in a playthrough, and no discussion in any way, shape, or form about Red Dead Redemption 1, because that is a game that some folks may want to go on to play after watching this playthrough. And I don't want any spoilers to happen there. Okay, so no Red Dead 1 speaking. Okay? No spoilers. But I'm going to give chat a chance to kind of throw in whatever questions or thoughts they want to throw in to start. But I'm going to start by saying that this was probably, to this point, my favorite game to do with this stream format. As many of you know, I switched the stream format over when Mass Effect started by doing a lot of story-driven games and using those games to illustrate psychological concepts, to talk about relationships, that kind of thing. And we have done several games up until this point, and this one was truly an amazing mix of incredible content, relationships, character development. There were so many concepts we were able to touch on throughout the 37 episodes that we did. The game is incredibly well crafted, and I love that there was the ability to counterbalance that with some really chaotic moments, and where we could also have some laughs and just enjoy what the world threw to us. So this was a really enjoyable experience for me. My mind is blown that this game did not win Game of the Year. I cannot believe that. As much as I love God of War, boy, this one is just something else. The amount of detail in it is remarkable. I don't think I've ever played a game where every episode I couldn't stop saying to myself, this is amazing. I think I answered your question, Sophie. Who would you personally give Game of the Year to? God of War or Red Dead? I would give it to Red Dead. I would absolutely give it to Red Dead. And God of War is a great game. Don't get me wrong. It's a great game. And I'm not really even interested in, like, the, people going back and forth about which one's better or worse than the other. They're both great games. This game just has so much detail, so much care put into it. It's just unbelievable. Down to the translucence of their ears and noses. Like, it's crazy how much Rockstar thought of to make that such a lived-in world. It's remarkable to me. Your analysis and thoughts on Reverend Swanson changed how I saw his character. Reverend Swanson is a very interesting guy for me, and I'm a little bit bummed out that we didn't really get a ton of insight into his metamorphosis later on in the game. But the Reverend gave us a really great opportunity to talk about the way that substances can control a person's life and what kind of effect that can have on somebody. And his, just kind of like his self-loathing, his sense of being trapped, all of that. It's really sad. I mean, at the end of the day, I find substance abuse and addiction to be sad. It's tragic to me that that a biological mechanism can ruin a person's life. And the Reverend managing to come around toward the end was pretty remarkable to me. And I didn't spend enough time talking to him to figure out exactly what made that change for him. But it was really cool to see him leave the group. And he perhaps realized that the group was catalyzing some of his substance issues. How do you think about Trelawney's talk with Arthur near the end of Chapter 6? Jackson, you're going to have to give me a few specifics on that, because Chapter 6 is... I guess Chapter 6, at the end of Chapter 6. I don't recall specifically what he said. Aside from Arthur and John, which character do you think had growth in the group? Well, I think so many of them did. I mean, Dutch had growth in a not-so-great way, right? Like, they all developed. So growth is an interesting term because growth presupposes that, like, who moved into a more positive space by the end of the game. Everybody developed in some way. And John and Arthur obviously are the focal points with that. As far as like who like really grew and showed me, I guess like positive change in the group. I mean, I could really make the argument that anybody that autonomously decided to leave the group showed some pretty significant growth. I think Charles showed that I mean, he kind of showed that, like, if you stick to your guns and you kind of pay attention to your integrity, it starts to counterbalance some of the loyalty stuff. And I think toward the end there, Charles really started to realize that there were things that he cared about that extended beyond what the Vanderlyn gang could offer to him. And he was willing to stay around so long as it was good for him and so long as it aligned with his values. And then once it didn't, he was willing to bail and find his own way. And I have a lot of respect for that. Can you go into detail about how Dutch manipulated Arthur and the group to get the point that they did? It's a frog in a boiling pot. Oh, yes. Okay. So my hope is that in watching the entire series, y'all were able to kind of see that as I talked about it. But here's the general process of how something like this happens. Dutch Vanderlyn has a core group of people that he was able to get around him because they were vulnerable at the time he found them. He built a group of people on an ideology that society in its progression was becoming oppressive to their way of life, and that it was something that they needed to fight against and eventually get away from. And what Dutch did was he found people who were in vulnerable situations, who were lacking direction, sense of self, needed to be taken care of, and he brought them in, probably out of good intentions, to take care of them. In so doing that, there was a passive loyalty that built from the folks that were in the group, which is something that I think many of us can connect with, right? Like, if people take care of you, you tend to want to reciprocate love and care to that person who took care of you. So Dutch brings these people in, and they accrue people along the way. Think of it as kind of like this big, like if anybody's played Katamari, like it's like this big Katamari ball. And as it rolls around every once in a while, it picks people up. Or it's a snowball that picks up a wood chip here and there. And the group slowly built. And it was people who needed something to believe in and people around them in order to survive. Dutch gave them something to hook their identity into. He gave them purpose when they didn't have it. He gave them identity when they didn't have it. He gave them food. He gave them, again, something to believe in. And at this time where you don't have the influence of social media and all that kind of thing, you are even more influenced by the representation and the information that you get and have access to. Over time, as the group grew, Dutch started to lose control of it, because you bring a bunch of autonomous people in, and even though they're there for a collectively similar reason, you start to see individual personalities come out, individual agendas, individual ideas, and sometimes those clash with the group. So Dutch starts to instill the sense that loyalty is the thing that's most important. He starts to go to abstract concepts. He starts to leverage the sense of obligation that people feel for him to keep them in the group, because what happens is Dutch started to push the group in a direction that was to meet his personal agenda, to find and kill Como Driscoll and to fight against the progressive society that was coming in. You start to threaten harm to people who leave, right? If you defect from the group, if you are a traitor, you will be killed, right? So you scare people from leaving. You isolate people from the other folks that they might have attachments to by moving the group around. Slowly but surely, as you do things, it reinforces that the group is all you have. And then the group becomes an ideological mechanism for Dutch, where he can get his own personal needs met. The group becomes codependent with Dutch. Dutch is the leader, is accountable for that. And he starts to leverage things in a direction that doesn't feel right. But because people have been conditioned out of their own autonomy and brought in on a sense that they have to stay loyal, it's very hard for them to stay connected with outside means. They stay connected with the group even if it starts to not feel so great. Whenever dissonance is experienced, people assimilate outside experiences into their schema of the group. People are out to get us. People don't understand us. We have to stay loyal to the cause. So much so that got deeply buried in them, that John Marston shows it even when he's outside of the group. So in that way, it does become a cult. Because that's how cults get started, and that's what leads to people doing really dumb stuff that you would never see them do if they saw the group at the outset. And one of the things that we talked about a lot in the playthrough is that then you start to have a subdivision of people within the group that creates a hierarchy, where you have people that are in the group for ideological reasons, and you have people that are in the group for survival reasons. And the people that are in the group for survival reasons are people who are seen as less important to the group, because they're only there because they need to be, not because they want to be. And that gets dangerous too, because then people start thinking more critically. They start feeling that tension. Anytime there's tension or dissent in a cult or in a group, the leadership will usually panic because they need it to be very consistent in order for them to be able to achieve what they want. It stopped becoming about the group and it started becoming about Dutch, and that's when things really started to go wrong. So that's the general process of what happened. And that happens to people, and literally all of us are susceptible to that. It's why cults, it's why certain organizations prey on the vulnerable, also why they prey on children. The younger you can get people inducted into a certain group or a certain ideology, the better off you are. Because if the only representation and experience that a person has is that of the groups, that first locked in ideation is the thing through which all other ideation is compared against. And it's way harder to get people out of a deeply held ideology than it is to instill one from blank. I'm honestly surprised. There's some alcoholism in my family, and honestly, it's not something people beat a lot of the time. It's surprising he did in that situation. Beating alcoholism and substance abuse is incredibly difficult. Do you think Kieran would have sided with Dutch or Arthur in the end? I don't know. We'll never know, because he died. So I don't know that it matters. But my hope would have been that Arthur could have come around to be nicer to Kieran over time. More experience-related question. Who out of the group did you feel like you related to the most? Are you comfy sharing why? Dutch. And I think part of my strong emotional reactions to Dutch is because Dutch represents, I think, the worst of what I have the potential to be at times and have been in my life. So there is what we would call countertransference to some extent with me and Dutch, but I like ideas. I like to be charismatic. I can be kind of a pain in the ass in a leadership position. Like, there's a lot of aspects of Dutch that I empathize with and relate to. Some in ways that I'm not really comfortable talking about on stream, but there are definitely some parallels to my own experiences and what I am capable of at my worst. with Dutch. So it's why I am so adamant throughout the entire playthrough that it's important for us to understand at any given moment that we are responsible and in control of our decisions. And Dutch made choices that were in self-interest, and he destroyed relationships because of it. And I, in my own life, have the capacity to do that and have learned about that in therapy and otherwise. And so I make an effort not to be like that. I would have contributed to the ledger, though. Yes. At what point in the story would you have called it quits with the group over Dutch's BS? That's a really cool question, Doris. I think somewhere around Saint Denis. I was able to follow him to Horseshoe Outlook. Maybe the transition between Horseshoe Outlook and Saint Denis. I could start to feel myself not being too happy with the decisions he was making. They started to feel impulsive. You could see his insecurity getting the best of him. And to me, I think there were some moments there where I'd have been like, you know what? I'm going to go my own way and find my own opportunity. I was hoping for a little more nuance with Micah's character, but I thought he was written as a bad person for pretty much the entire game. Do you have any thoughts on that? I don't know that I totally agree. Guarma was an interesting moment for Micah. You may recall there were moments in this playthrough, particularly with Guarma, where I said we should give Micah the benefit of the doubt. I think Micah is easy to dislike because he's antagonistic, but my first initial reaction to people who are antagonistic is to try to empathize with where that antagonism is coming from. And unfortunately, we never really got to learn enough about Micah to know where that was coming from. And eventually we had to hold him accountable for his behaviors. So he was hard to like by the end, for sure. What was Micah getting from puppeting Dutch? Oh, his own self-indulgence. Micah's just another version of Dutch. Micah and Dutch have a lot in common. And Micah, I think, needed to have his own... So, Colm O'Driscoll is to Dutch as Dutch is to Micah. And I know that that might sound a little bit extreme, but there was that moment when we broke Micah out of Strawberry where Micah made some comments about Dutch and said he wasn't quite ready to come back. And I think a lot of Micah's motivation was to show Dutch that he was smarter than Dutch and that Dutch isn't everything that he thinks he is. Because what a trip to be able to control a person who is perceived by so many people to have control. Micah was incredibly good at what he did. And I think in some ways it might have been a compensation for the lack of faith that Dutch had in him, for the fact that the group constantly called him a piece of shit. It was kind of like I'll show you. I'll show you. I can control this whole thing. And he did. I am Pancake. If you shut down your therapist brain and think with your regular monkey brain, which character did you enjoy the most? Like dialogue, voice dynamics, etc.? It's very hard for me to shut off my therapy brain, but my favorite character, my favorite character in the whole game was probably either Mr. Margaret or Charles. I love eccentric people. Like I really love eccentric characters like that. So I would say probably Mr. Margaret. I loved that series, or that also the yeah, Charles was pretty great too. I love Charles. I sent a meme on Discord about how stressful missions with Dutch are to the point people have to more mentally prepare for it. This seems to be a common thing for most players. Why would that be? Because what Dutch is doing cuts across our general sensibilities. Like, the thing is, is doing things and unraveling in front of us, and we do not have the same 20-year investment in the group that Arthur does. So we simultaneously empathize with Arthur, but also have our own personal convictions towards Dutch, and we feel that dissonance, and it's very uncomfortable. We start realizing that Arthur is doing things because he's been invested in the group for so long, not because he necessarily wants to do them. And that's a very conflicting position for us as the omniscient person to experience. So that's why it's so uncomfortable. Fuego, thanks for stopping by, dude. I'm glad it was satisfying for you. How did the open world affect how and when you engage your therapist brain versus just being in the moment, if at all? Doris, I'm always in my therapist brain. Like, it's funny how people tend to think, and I don't fault people for this, people tend to think that, like, therapist brain is something that I have to, like, turn on and off. Ryan's brain, DrMick's brain, works in such a way that the therapist part of my brain is always on, and I don't mind that. Like, I can be present in a moment and also be engaged in thinking systemically about things. Like, it's not like this like hard boundary that I like jump over or walk through the door on. It's always on. That said, the open world was great. I liked the freedom to go where I wanted to go and do things as I wanted to do and mix up the chaos with the seriousness. And I hope I did a good job of keeping that balanced for all of you so that it didn't feel like it was too intense for too long. Did you have a favorite horse? I was partial to Sinead. I really liked Gen A, but Sinead, like the way we found her and just all the stuff that Sinead got us through, I was very partial to Sinead. Oh, by the way, the Charles I'm referring to is the chaotic Frenchman Charles, not Charles Smith. My favorite characters are Mr. Margaret and Charles the chaotic Frenchman. What was the least enjoyable part of the game for you? Watching Arthur violate his own boundaries. And John Marston. I actually think I was more angry at John than probably any other character at any other moment. Like, John... It's really hard to watch Arthur and John try to set boundaries, have them blow through, and then capitulate to the people that blew through their boundaries. That was really hard for me. And I understand that you need to do that to move the narrative forward, but still haven't finished the last episode because I didn't catch it live. But as a whole, did you enjoy the game? Yes, I did. I enjoyed the game immensely. I looked forward to playing the game every night. By the end, I was kind of ready to change games, but I enjoyed all of Red Dead. It was a great game. I am grateful that all of you made the suggestion for me to play this. I understand now why people on TikTok were begging for me to play it. It was a wonderful experience. Charles Chatanet, yes. What did you think of the way they handled Arthur's death? Joel's death made sense and was well done, but the poet in me much preferred the way that Arthur went out. I don't like comparing deaths. I think that I think it was done fine. I don't really have any problem with it. Arthur sort of got to go out on his own terms. I think he got time to reconcile some stuff for himself. I think it's tragic that he was killed by Micah in the end, but I don't think that he had much of a chance against those Pinkertons either. I think the way they did his death was fine. Do you have a favorite moment on the stream for this game? Mine is probably the funeral interrupted by the crocodile. I'm guessing that's probably most people's favorite moment. We're going to go through some of the favorite moments here in a little bit. I'm going to do some clips. But my favorite moment... I mean, Alligator Jesus is really hard to top. The moment where I was trying to feed the eugenics guy to the alligator, that was really solid. I think maybe the best moment, though, of the whole thing was that night that it was storming and we were overlooking Saint Denis, and then the sun came up after we killed the legendary moose. Like, that sequence was really incredible. And I think we're gonna watch that again tonight. It's surprising to me, considering how many times you compliment Charles Smith on his interpersonal insight and healthy boundaries, like when he asked Arthur to divide silent with me. Yeah, no, I like Charles. But if you ask me my 2 favorite characters in the game, it's Charles the Painter and Mr. Margaret. We talk about Red Dead 1. No. No talk about Red Dead 1. Because there are folks in here who do not want Red Dead 1 spoiled. So no. This is about the run of Red Dead 2. This is about things that happened in our run. But one of the rules at the very beginning of this stream was no talking about anything that didn't happen in this run. And or things that could have happened. And no talking about Red Dead 1. A hard rule. I found it sad how Arthur died of terminal lumbago. Yeah. It's because Uncle, it was so contagious from Uncle. One of the best parts of the game was Mr. Margaret asking to find a lion, and it was a real lion. Yeah, dude, I wasn't ready for that. Rockstar teed that up really well with the donkey and the cougar, and then like, holy shit, it was an actual lion. Did you try to forget all your Red Dead 1 gameplay as you were playing Red Dead 2? Honestly, Scott, I remembered so little of it. There were only 2 parts of the game where I was like, oh shit. And it reminded me of Red Dead 1. But I barely remember the plot of Red Dead 1. Is there anything in the run that you would do differently if you had the option? I might have tried to explore the world a little bit more before that final mission with Arthur. I didn't know which mission was going to be the end. I honestly didn't know that Arthur was going to die and that we were going to play as John Marston. I had no idea that happened in this game. So when Arthur died and then all of a sudden we fast forwarded 7 years, it was like, oh shit. All right. I guess we didn't get to tie up some stuff. Like, if I'd have known that was coming, I might have done another stream where I just rode around the world looking for more strangers and stuff. So I am a little bummed about that, but is what it is. Gameplay dynamics, faves, things you would have changed. Oh, okay. There are some not so great game design decisions in this that I think are kind of indicative of Rockstar's So for Joms, it's non-negotiable. We're not talking about Red Dead 1. If you talk about Red Dead 1, I'm going to time you out, potentially even ban you. Like, it's not negotiable. So I'm not even going to argue about it tonight. Okay, so as far as gameplay mechanics, I have a hard time with Rockstar games sometimes because Rockstar creates these beautiful open worlds with infinite possibilities. And then when you do the story missions, you are required to do them in a very specific way. And that drives me crazy because there are so many times where, like, you could be so creative with how you do a mission. And because you don't do it exactly the way that Rockstar wants you to do it, you miss out on that. And like that, I don't enjoy that. I don't think that's cool. Like, there were a few parts where it was like, I felt like Rockstar was like grabbing my hand and like jerking me in a certain direction. And I was like, why do I have to do it this way? Right? Like, even down to like simple moments, like hide your horse. It tells you exactly where to hide the horse. Like, let me figure that out. Let me figure out if that was a good hiding space for the horse. That I don't like. I don't like when I'm forced to do things in a world that tries to also facilitate like you doing whatever you want. So it's a really weird clash for me. And I know that it's somewhat controversial that I say this, but like, I hated that they made me hit F when John Marston did the cover shot of Red Dead 1. I disliked that immensely. I don't like when I'm confused about when I have agency versus when I don't in a video game. I like to have some consistency of knowing, like, with The Last of Us 2, that's going in one direction. And it's very clear that you're along for the ride, and there are certain ways that you can go through levels, but like, you know that is going to go in a certain way. Whereas Red Dead is like, there's just so many opportunities where, like, if they said, for example, like if you're with Sadie and it says like, find a way to get to this guy where like, and find a way to kill this guy without alerting the police, and that's the only alert you get. Like, that would be interesting to me, because you could like plan it out and map it, try to figure out what you're gonna do. Are you gonna snipe the guy? Are you gonna try to lead people away from the camp? Are you gonna try to do this? Like, instead, when you pick sneak with Sadie, you cross the bridge and that guy finds you, and it's like, okay. And then you have these like scripted moments, and I don't like how jarring that is. So that's my major complaint with the gameplay design of Red Dead, is that like Rockstar can't decide whether it wants you to be creative or whether it wants you to do exactly the way that you did it, or the way that they want it to be. So, all right, I'm trying to catch up here. What was your favorite companion side quest? I really did enjoy Hamish. I thought that was really meaningful. I like the Romeo and Juliet thing. I really liked that. Thoughts on Tahiti as a vacation destination? Never been there. Don't know much about it. Arthur's death had me crying over a fictional character. The music, the poetry of it, the scenery. Yeah, it's very emotional. Any especially emotional moments that stuck out for you? Yeah, I cried when Arthur put his hat on John. I don't know if you all saw it. If you go back and watch the VOD, you'll see it. That legitimately made me choke up. That's the only moment of the game that actually made me like emotional in a like sad way. But that was a powerful moment when Arthur did that. When he took his hat off and put it on John, I was like, oh my God. Did you watch Nakey Jakey's video on the game? No. I have not watched it because I didn't want spoilers for the game. So I do know that he has one, and I will probably watch it after we do this wrap up. But if that's his criticism of the game as well, that makes sense to me. I believe you talked about Nakey Jakey before. I'd highly suggest his review of the game. Game mechanics and limitations are one of the things he talks about, and it's really good. There we go. Interesting. I grieved Arthur. When we saw his grave in the end credits, I thought to myself, wow, this character, I really felt like a living, breathing human being. Like losing a friend. Yeah. We're connected to him. There wasn't any sort of speech check mechanic component. It was just violence every time. It would have been nice if we could have charmed buffed our way out of some missions. Yeah, I would have liked some diversity in ways to accomplish missions. That would have been really neat for me. I get it. Rockstar wants you to have a certain experience, and that's fine. But, like, okay, take for example, very early in the game, when you're attempting to blow up the train, and it goes wrong because you set the charge and it doesn't work and all that stuff, and then you have to improvise. What I would love is if, like, when you do the train heist, if it was like, Arthur, figure out how you want to set this up, and you could like go through and like listen to what the different characters had to say and had options of what you wanted to do, and you didn't know what was going to work or what wasn't, right? Like, do you try to blow up the tracks? Do you try to jump off from the tunnel? Do you try to smooth talk your way through it? Like, I understand that from a game design perspective, that's a lot to do, but also Rockstar clearly has the resources to do it. So just some of that would be neat. I also didn't like that it seemed like every single time I did something illegal, there was somebody there to catch it. Like, the cops are like as superhuman in Red Dead as they are in GTA. Like, one of my biggest gripes with GTA 4 and 5 is that the cops are insane. Like, they catch everything. And that's kind of annoying too, but that's a minor gripe. Why did Molly lie to Dutch about the bank robbery? I think Molly wanted to stick it to Dutch and get Dutch to finally notice her in whatever way he could. And that was a way to do it. I think by that point, Molly was also drunk, so she wasn't really thinking straight when she did that. But I think she really wanted to get one over on Dutch. And it's sad to me that Grimshaw took her out before we had an opportunity for her to sober up and really ask her what happened. But Molly was never going to be to Dutch what she wanted to be, because Dutch was too stuck on Annabelle. Not too stuck. He was just stuck on Annabelle, and I wish he would have owned it. Kind of frustrating that there are moments where you can make a choice and it has a morality system in place, but it doesn't often follow through on the consequences. Yeah, like I love the opportunity to say no to Mary. That was great. I love that. I love that I could choose not to do Strauss missions. That was great. But yeah, she wanted to hurt Dutch. I think she wanted to hurt Dutch in the way that he had hurt her. I think that's what she was doing. And the Pinkertons say they didn't pick up Mike until after Guarma, but the bank robbery really felt like somebody had actually tipped them off. I don't know, honestly. We had already made such a ruckus in Saint-Denis by that point. The reason that I started to lose faith in Dutch around Saint-Denis is because we messed up when we went to the train station and took the trolley and shot up half the cops in Saint-Denis. At that point, going for a bank robbery was stupid. Everybody's on high alert. Really, really, really stupid. And there was really no reason to do that. So I don't even know that it was tipped off so much as everybody was already on high alert knowing that the Vanderlins were in the area. The time you got caught trespassing in Saint-Denis for just trying to get on your horse was such a great moment. It's ridiculous. Rockstar could do that. It takes time, a lot of people. More people, more problems. Staff are basically overworked. I totally understand that. But just my 2 cents. Bank robbery in Saint-Denis. The group was just making so much noise. They got sloppy and loud. They really did. It was just... It's in downtown... There's a theory that Guarma was intentionally with the most frustrating characters in missions because it knew most people were exhausted in the main story. But then you get back, you'll return to the extra things in the game, such as exploring, hunting strangers, etc., and get back to less stressful things. Interesting. I don't know. I think Guarma's an opportunity for us to really see where Dutch's mind is at. Like when Dutch kills that lady in the cave, super clear indication of where his mind's at. We got away. And then Dutch is like, we're going back, and framed it as loyalty. And it was that Guarma was a mess. I can see why people don't like that mission because like it's so unrealistic to take down the battleship with like one cannon and shit like that, or with one cannon and shit like that. But like Guarma was helpful in pushing the narrative forward that Dutch really is legitimately unraveling. Like even when it's just him and Arthur one-on-one, Dutch can't bring himself to bring it down. He didn't even loot the gold bar back up. Right. Right. But the game had beautiful set pieces. That's for sure. That's for sure. I'm trying to think if there's... I mean, I still contend that the game is really more about Dutch Vanderland than it is about Arthur. What's the core thesis of Red Dead for you? Like Last of Us was connection is the antithesis to survival? It's an interesting question because it's one of those things where I feel like I probably said it a bunch of times. Honestly, I think in some ways it's the power and charisma. That people will lose themselves to groups. People will lose their identities to strongly held convictions of others if they're not careful. That autonomy can be an incredibly hard thing to exert, even when it's the thing that's best for you. That autonomy in some ways is the antithesis to a cult. And that your values are something that are important to stick to, and that you don't owe anybody your obligation and loyalty. That's probably the big one. You don't owe anybody your loyalty and a sense of obligation, even if they've done right by you. for a long time. Nobody is entitled to your presence, especially if it's in violation of your own values. Some fans believe that Dutch's head injury during the Charlie mission altered his personality. You think it's possible? It certainly could be. It certainly could be. But I'm not a medical doctor, so it's hard for me to go down that lane. But I could totally see that as plausible, Asher, for sure. Even something like CTE. It is kind of funny that you have a bad homie, lets you kill thousands of innocent people, and Arthur's like, Dutch, how could you? Right? My dramatic writing class, we talk about a concept called movie in miniature, where the beginning scene of a film encapsulates the entire movie. We go on a whole dissertation on how first location Coulter set up the dynamic of the group and encapsulates the downfall of the Vanderlyn gang. Sure. Yeah. Boundaries and their enforcement, lack thereof, seem to be a theme. Yeah, boundaries are going to be in every game we ever play. Ever. What did you think about the English subtitles when another language is being spoken? I hated it. I hated it. Absolutely hated it. I don't like when games do that. Grand Theft Auto 4 does that too with Russian, when Nico speaks Russian. Although Nico is Russian, so I guess it's a little different. But I really wish they didn't give subtitles for languages that Arthur didn't understand. That's a little bit too much omniscience if we're trying to roleplay as Arthur. How do you feel with knowing that John built an entire ranch of roughly $1,200 7 years later compared to the amount Dutch and the gang had saved? That was somehow never enough. Not great, Fuego. I will say this. Dutch couldn't afford to settle down. Dutch couldn't afford that because the Pinkertons were after him. So I do think one of the reasons the group kept running around is because if the Pinkertons found the Pinkertons consistently said, we don't want the group, we want Dutch. So if they would have set up a ranch, settled down, all gotten those pre-built houses like John got, eventually Dutch gets caught. And Dutch is the only person in that group. He is the only person in the group who couldn't afford to keep moving or who couldn't afford to stay still. And I think that's why his tension went up every time they got settled. Because if he gets found, he's screwed. And he's probably afraid that somebody in the group would give him up. Because if it meant that they were all stable and it meant the only sacrifice they had to make was Arthur or was Dutch, and Arthur's there to take over, then he doesn't have any power. And that brings in the implicit versus explicit leadership component of that. But Dutch couldn't afford to stay still. Get the argument that it could be not subtitled at all, but the fact that they give recognition to the language and not just put gibberish and respect for the culture. You don't have to put gibberish. You could just put the subtitle of the language that's being spoken, right? If I have the benefit of speaking Spanish, then cool, I understand it, but many people wouldn't. I don't think you have to put gibberish there, but I don't like the idea of putting English subtitles when people are speaking Spanish. That to me, or French, like that to me is, it's kind of weird. How do you feel? Let's see. I answered that. Is there any other members of the gang that you wanted to know more about, see more of? Probably all of them. The Reverend, Pearson, Tilly, the ladies. There were a lot of people. It got so chaotic at the end that it was really hard to sit down and talk to folks, because one of the things that we saw is in the beginning of the game, everybody was very open. They were willing to talk about themselves. People were generally comfortable. There was camaraderie. As soon as we got into the Murphy territory, people weren't sharing much anymore. People were devolving. And I would have liked more insight into that, but I also understand why they wouldn't have given it, because Arthur started to look like he was in descent to Dutch, which makes him unsafe to talk to. So in some ways, I think it's realistic that we didn't get to learn much about people later in the game, but I would have loved to have known a little bit more about what happened with the ladies and with Pearson and with the Reverend and stuff. Also, Javier kind of feels like he got lost. Javier is a really interesting character to me because he was so steadfastly loyal to Dutch throughout the whole thing and would question Arthur and John when they would dissent, but we never really got a ton of insight into why. And I would have liked to have gotten a little bit more about Javier. Nico's Serbian. Okay. I guess I knew that. It's been a while. Is that why you think he shot Micah in the end, so he could always be on the run? He probably had some insight into knowing that Micah was trying to get him turned in. Because if we could find him... Because, like, here's the thing. Is if we could find Dutch and Micah, the cops certainly could find him. So I think Dutch maybe had some realization in that moment as well that, like, he could be found. So Micah becomes a liability to him. Shoot him. Leave. What character of the game would you like to play as if they got their own game? Probably Sadie. Why do you believe the majority of the group believe that Dutch had a plan even after they repeatedly went wrong? Because he's charismatic. Very charismatic, and the whole group is vulnerable, and they have cost sunk. You can't underestimate the power of that. I mean, look at the history of any cult. They make terrible decisions and people stay. Because it's not about what the group's doing. It's not about the plan. It's about the idea. Did you see Tilly and Mary Beth in the end credits? I didn't see you react to it that much. I think it even implied that Mary Beth became an author. Yeah, I saw that. But, right, there's a lot of implication there, but it's hard for me to know exactly what was going on for them. I don't generally like to make too many assumptions about people until I have an opportunity to interact with them. Yeah, I feel like in some ways, Johns, you and I are on the same page. The only argument that I'm making is that if you want to create something realistic where Arthur doesn't understand the language that's being spoken in front of him because you're role-playing as Arthur, don't write the subtitles in the language that the viewer understands when it's not the language. Like if Arthur understood Spanish, write the English subtitles for it. Arthur doesn't understand Spanish, so make the Spanish have Spanish subtitles. And that is just as good for folks who are deaf as it is for anybody else, because to me, there's a reason. Like, here's the other thing to understand about this. Like, I'm going to put this in context. If you're in a group, right, like say we're around the native, like say we're in Wapiti and we're around the Native Americans, and, you know, a bunch of white folks, Arthur and a bunch of white dudes walk into their camp. And the natives speak English to the white dudes that come into the camp. And then one of the natives says something in their native tongue to the guy next to him to give like a message to that person that he knows that the white people are not going to understand because it's dangerous to say what he was going to say in English. We, the viewer / the people, the white dudes in that group are not entitled to know what that is. It's an actual realistic survival mechanism that people use. Language is a very powerful thing. So for Rockstar to give us insight into what's being said in a language that the protagonist doesn't understand is giving us, as the person role-playing the person, too much omniscience. Like, to me, that's actually doing a disservice to the folks that are speaking their native tongue when they could speak English, because there's a reason and a function for that. And that happens in real life all the time, right? Like if I go into a sushi restaurant and I am ordering sushi and I'm talking to the sushi chef, and then the sushi chef turns to the guy who's working next to him and he speaks Japanese to him, he's doing that probably for a reason, under the assumption that I'm not going to hear what he has to say. And it could be something very benign, but that's a choice that that person deliberately makes to speak in their native tongue, knowing that the people around them aren't going to understand it. So we are not entitled to know what that person is saying when they are very obviously choosing to use their native tongue when they could speak English. And I think that that's unfair for us to have that information there. Is there a gang member or side character that you would most want to sit down and have a therapy session with, either to help them with their issues or just learn more about them? John Marston. I would love to have been John Marston's therapist during the epilogue. would have been, I think John could so heavily benefit from having somebody who could help him understand how to create, maintain, and enforce boundaries. And I really think John Marston would have been better off for it. So John Marston, without a doubt. Do you think part of the reason Jack was unsure of fishing with John is because the last time they went fishing was potentially traumatic, at least confusing experience with Arthur? Well, Jack alludes to that, Fuego, so it's certainly a possibility, but I really think more than anything else, it's because Jack doesn't have a secure foundation with John. Like, John's kind of forcing camaraderie time with him when he's not really taking the time to get to know Jack. Like, John, I really think should have made more of an effort to understand Jack's interests before getting him to engage with John's. Like, John should have spent more time asking him about his stories that he's reading. Asking him about reading. What's he interested in? Stuff like that. Meet Jack where he's at before you ask Jack to meet you where you're at. But I do think that could be part of it. Some scary men showed up last time we went fishing with Uncle Arthur. And Uncle Arthur, by the way, was a lot more of a father figure to him than John was back in the day. So there's a lot of complexity there. It makes more sense. I guess I just see the game as more of an outside viewer. Yeah, I see. And so I could totally understand that argument. And I don't even know I call it an argument. Like, I can understand that perspective. I think when you're Rockstar and you're creating a story, you have to make a choice. And this is where I value consistency. You have to make a choice. Are you role-playing as Arthur Morgan, or are you an omniscient person as the viewer, as the player? The game is designed in such a way that you are role-playing as Arthur Morgan and John Marston. You don't ever get to play as other characters. You don't really ever see conversations that happen when Arthur or John aren't around. So Rockstar has made the decision that you are role-playing as Arthur Morgan and John Marston. And so if you're going to do that, you have to make narrative decisions that are consistent with that. And that's, I think, for just the psychology of the gamer who's playing it, I think it's more consistent even for us. And it makes a lot more sense. It allows us to empathize more with Arthur. Like, in that moment when we roll up on Wapiti and then we hear a language that we don't understand, that creates tension because we don't know what's being said. And Arthur would have 100% experienced that. So when we, the viewer, get to see that what they're saying is relatively benign and it's not anything to be afraid of, it takes us out of that empathy for Arthur, where it would be like, holy shit, I don't know what they're saying. Are we in danger right now? It creates this like alertness that is really fascinating, right? Like if you're an American soldier in World War II and you're over in Germany and you hear Germans speaking German in a trench that's right by you, you don't know whether those Germans are saying, hey, don't shoot, we're cool, we don't want to fire on you, or if they're saying, kill them. And that adds to the tension of that moment. So it would be like if you were in World War II and you're fighting across the trench from Germans and you had subtitles that told you what the Germans were saying, it would be a super powerful tool. And it's just, it doesn't work with the role-playing nature of how Rockstar set up the game. I think I've made my point. I can appreciate different perspectives on it. I'm not saying that, I'm never saying that my perspective is the de facto perspective on it. It's just, that's my point. I actually liked it when you made the point in the scene with the Mexicans in Saint Denis. It would give Arthur, who is privileged, a chance to understand what it's like to be an immigrant. Yeah. Who would you invite to your poker table IRL? Probably Dutch, Charles, Sadie, and Hosea, and Arthur. You think Dutch would have left John in jail? I don't know. He didn't. Well, he did, but we got him out, so we'll never know. Wish they'd done more stuff with Arthur having a son instead of making that a throwaway line. Oh my God. Yeah, you want to talk about a really stupid decision. Yeah, I mean, when I chose to ask about the reservation, contextually that made more sense. And that was not a time for Arthur to ask about his son. And I really did not realize that it was never going to come back to that dialogue option. Like, if that information behind that is that important, don't make it a choice dialogue option that you're never going to come back to. I'm fine that I don't know what the chief would have said about it. And honestly, I don't want to know what he would have said about it. I chose to ask him about the reservation. A lot of folks expressed disappointment in that in the comments, and it didn't make sense at the time to ask that question. So I'm not entitled to the information in hindsight. I can live with that. I would agree with that, Fuego. But again, that's not direct engagement with Jack, right? He needs to have direct engagement with Jack around that stuff too. How cool would it have been if Eliza had been alive but their son had passed away and they showed Arthur and Eliza interacting and still dealing with that? Would have been interesting. I also noticed how when John walked into the ranch and Jack was reading this story to Uncle and his mom, the story seemed to be a metaphor for John, Dragon Slayer, no more. Yeah, I'm sure that was by design. Like the woman in Guarma, if we didn't have the subtitles, we may have believed Dutch when he said she was talking about betraying them in Spanish. Correct. Do you think the fandom overestimates the importance of Hosea as the sole and moral guide of the group? People tend to think that if Hosea were around, Dutch would not have done what he did. I think we have evidence that supports that Dutch continued to do what he did even with Hosea around. Also, I don't know. I know nothing about the community sentiment towards the game. I don't pay attention to that stuff, so I have no idea. I could totally see how Hosea had some pull in the group, but ultimately Dutch kept doing what he was doing even with him around, so I don't know about that. Whether the fandom overestimates it, I have no idea. Were there any one-off or unique interactions that were difficult for you to walk away from or not be able to do more therapy or psychological work with? I would have loved... I totally understand why this isn't part of the game, but I would have loved the opportunity to talk to the people who we had bounties out for when they were in the jail cell. It'd be really cool to be able to talk with them about like why they did what they did and how they were trying to survive the way that they were. Like when we would just put people in the cell and then walk away and then be like, all right, you're going to get hanged. I would have, so that would have been another one. I would have loved to have known more about Dutch's history with Colm. I think just getting more backstory from all of the characters about why they joined the group in the first place would have been really interesting for me. I'm also curious how you felt about that town with the demons that the man was poisoning. Oh, sad. That happens. People who are in rural areas with lack of access to resources get used all the time. That happens today. People in rural areas get screwed all the time because they're given limited access to resources, limited access to education, limited representation. And then there are people who know how to come in there and angle themselves to make it seem like they're doing those folks a favor even when they're not. It's a tragic, tragic, tragic situation. But Arthur sees himself in Jack, but I think he sees himself more in John. John has the opportunity to have the life settling down with the wife and son, and Arthur could have had. Yeah, but that's why I don't think Arthur sees himself in John at all. I think Arthur sees John as somebody who could be more than he was and who could make better decisions, but Arthur has a lot more of a relatable experience to Jack. Jack's father was basically not around and absent and treated parenthood with very little effort in the same way that Arthur's father did. I think Arthur needs John to be better for Jack because Arthur wishes that his own father would have been better. I think Arthur sees maybe some part of him in John, but I think he sees more of an ideal in John than actually empathizing with John. John has the opportunity to do what Arthur only started to do when he got TB, which I think is an important point. Arthur even didn't start to realize that he could do better and carry out some of the things that he saw John is capable of doing until he was terminally ill. And so I think Arthur looks at John and says, dude, you have an opportunity to do this stuff, And you don't have to be terminally ill in order for it to happen. Make decisions that are better. Make them better for your son and for your family, which to me, I think, suggests more empathy with Jack. I don't know for sure. You could be more right than I am, but that's more of my perspective on it. When Dutch was questioning Arthur's loyalty later on, did you ever have the thought of, I literally got tortured and almost killed by Colm? That just speaks to how much Dutch didn't care anymore. It wasn't about anything tangible for Dutch. It was nothing tangible for Dutch. It was all ideological, and you can get lost in that really fast. I mean, Dutch didn't really ask about Arthur's TB. Dutch stopped showing the care. Dutch cared through words. He'd still call him son and stuff, but there was no action to support it. And that's a dissonance that a lot of people get frustrated with, particularly in adulthood. Well, thank you, Rick. Hey, Mia. Also, I'm really glad y'all are here. Thanks for hanging out. And if you're watching the VOD, I hope you'll share your own thoughts in the comments. Please do that. Which clips were your favorite ones? Yeah, are we about to move on to clips? If I remember correctly, you said that your initial gut reaction with the guy we first came across was psychosis. How do you feel about that first reaction after everything that happened? The guy we first came... Shelves, I don't know who you're referring to. Regarding the mining town. I don't know that I'm going to be able to answer it because I can't even put my thumb on that moment. It's crazy how much stuff happened. In Ansburg, yeah, I mean, the guy from Butcher Creek? Oh! I don't know. I think now that we know they were poisoned, I'm probably less likely to think that. I don't know. I'm not connecting to it enough to be able to comment on it, unfortunately. Obviously, Mary wasn't the right person for Arthur along with his previous wife, Eliza. Do you think Arthur was ever close to finding that person during this playthrough? Maybe Charlotte? I don't know. I don't know that Arthur was looking for it. And I think that's okay. I don't think Arthur has to have a love interest. Oh, the guy we took home. Oh. Yeah, well, he may have had psychosis, but it may have also been the poisoning. I mean, which it doesn't mean that like he's any less. So something to understand about psychosis and certain mental illnesses is you actually can't diagnose them if there is substance abuse involved. And so some of it may actually be attributed to the poisoning than an actual mental disorder. It's hard to know for sure. But the initial reaction is that, but once you get more context, right, which is why you have to do an assessment around this stuff, him being under the influence of poison is enough to potentially buffer out the ability to make a diagnosis of psychosis. So you can have psychotic symptoms that come from that, but like, and it gets very delicate and confusing, and I'm not going to spend too much time talking about that right now, but like, it appears as psychosis at the outset, but once we learn that there's poisoning involved, then you still have to work with the symptoms. You still have to work with the guy, how he's showing up, but it may change the way that you assess it and the way that you understand what's going on. I know you said you liked this being open-ended, but did you settle on your own theory about Arthur's deer? I personally think the music in those scenes signified that time was ticking. I don't know. I hope this doesn't seem like a cop-out answer, but I would want to know what what he makes of that. Like, does Arthur create any meaning with that? Is that a symbol for Arthur in some way? Like, a deer could be symbolism for anything. Like, it could be a signal of peace. It could be a signal that, like, I mean, a deer is technically is prey, right? That there's always a predator, that if a deer's not paying attention at any time, a predator could kill it. And in some ways, Arthur is prey to Dutch and his decisions and to TB. I mean, there's all sorts of interpretation that you could make on that. But I would be more curious to know what Arthur makes of that, and if there's something that he connects with a deer. What do you think of the gunplay? Arthur's seasoned gunslinger, but there was many times that you missed a lot of shots. Like, theoretical needs time to close in and shoot. Oh, gunplay's fine. Plays like any other Rockstar game. I don't mind it. I feel like I did a pretty good job. I tried to use Deadeye as little as possible. I think you all have probably picked up at this point that I do not enjoy mechanics like Deadeye in games. I think it holds the player's hand too much. It takes the skill out of it. So I tried to minimize how often I used it. It was a lot more fun for me to try to hit the shots on my own. And honestly, we were shooting guns that are not precision guns. Like, it would make sense that you would miss shots. And my frustration around missing shots is no different than if I was missing those shots in real life. So I think it's fine. I think the fact that you have to cock the gun after every shot and stuff is great. I think Rockstar did a good job making that an authentic experience. Yeah, potentially Fuego. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, it's fine. It makes sense, Mason. You really could have used Deadeye more and died less. I'm fine with dying and not using Deadeye. I don't know. The Deadeye's not fun for me. Get some pretty nasty headshots in free aim. I like that Deadeye is optional for most part. There were a couple times where it was kind of forced on you and it made sense and it was fine, like when you shot the bear and stuff. But I like that I had the option not to use it. The game is more fun for me to not use it, and I don't mind dying. It's whatever, you know. I wasn't doing like an Iron Man playthrough, so. But you'll find that in most games that you watch me play, when the game provides certain stuff like that, I won't use it. I don't like stuff like that. I don't generally play as like in WoW even. I play as like a warrior and stuff because I don't like magic. I don't like time slowing things unless it's an actual like mechanic of the game where time is included and stuff like that. It's just a personal preference. So I know you're not attacking me. It's just for me, it's like whatever. I don't like Deadeye. It's less fun for me. Especially since I can use mouse and keyboard. When it comes to shipping, the amount Dutch... Oh, God, I can only imagine. So, I'm actually pretty happy with... I didn't die that much. I probably died maybe, what, like 8 or 9 times? 10, maybe? All right, let's pull up some clips. Let's do some clips here. I'm gonna pull this up here. Fear can symbolize innocence and kindness, possibly connection to Arthur's goodness in spite of a personal narrative. Yeah, again, the cool thing about the deer is all of us could interpret it differently, and I think that's neat. Alan, I appreciate the suggestion, but our next game is Cyberpunk 2077. Ghost of Tsushima is on my list, but it is not one that I am planning to play anytime soon. Let's see. I want to find the... First, let's pull this guy up. Part 17. So we lost Sean. God, super. And all right, here we go. So this is one of my favorite sequences of the entire game. And we're gonna watch this together. Now the cool thing here is that this should make it so that my thing goes over, so that see. So all right, let's go turn this down. You think Arthur was truly redeemed and died a good man? I don't think it matters. I think he died doing better than he had done for the majority of his life, and that's worth noting. Yeah, I wish that was the case too, Isaac.
Are under attack, and what we must do, sir, speak for yourself.
I'm sorry. You just
This is one of my favorite sequences over the entire.
A fool! A fool! Come here! Someone help me!
This guy's spitting racism. We beat the shit out of him in front of everybody. Nobody cares. Anybody got a problem? Now, the message we just sent to the fine folks of St. Denis. All right, so then I'm going to fast forward a little bit because we rode off, we slept, and then we woke up, and our goal was to feed him to a gator. Now, I hear gators is real hungry in the morning. Did you sleep well, darling? Do this. You beautiful, pure belle. I gotta believe that you have the most best sleep there ever rightly was for a fine human, because if you live pure, you must sleep pure. I could only hope that one day I might have the rest that it takes to be slung over the shoulder of a fool and still manage to keep my beauty rest. I do so envy you, sir. You have that ability. And I do think that that's even more reason why our fine friend Alligator Jesus may be interested
This is me puppeting
in what
myself.
it is that you have to offer. Now, why don't you just go ahead and have yourself a seat in that mud?
Gator ran away.
Didn't mean to scare them gators off.
Not working.
Come on, fellas.
Had to pick him up many times.
Might just be some fine eating. Red Dead Redemption 2 of the Therapist, Part 17. The search for Alligator Jesus Boogaloo.
Yep. We tried.
Long, hard trek, friends, but I do declare we will find him.
We tried.
This was a lot of fun to do. I was so determined
Oh.
to get this guy fed to a gator. Oh, I hear him hissing. The Lord doth hiss. All right. Hey. Gator Jesus, I have brought you a fine specimen. We tried so hard for you to munch on. How are you?
No, Avery, I
Alligator
haven't.
Jesus.
Not unintentionally.
I have left you a fine, pure specimen.
Do you have the clip where this guy shows up
Might
again? Yes, I do,
enjoy.
Matt. Yes, I do.
Alligator doesn't want it. So we walked
Come on,
around. We did our best. We tried. Come on!
I really thought this one was going to do it.
Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. I wanted it so bad. I'm afraid to shoot him, as I'm worried if I shoot him.
I think I shot him in the kneecap. Oh, I stabbed him. That's right. Yeah, stabbed him. Try to get some blood going. He's not sleeping anymore. Now he's just dead. So this gator wasn't interested, so we carried him over to this guy. Look at how bloody our shoulder is. Now, I have flambéed him sufficiently. In my opinion. There we go. Yeah! Come on! Look at him. He's like rearing up. I really thought it was going to happen. He's flambéed. Gator's just like, nah. Oh, this is going to be... Oh, this is so scary to pick up. Oh, God. Oh, God. I know. I see you. Keep backing up. Oh, no. Shit. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, that was a great moment. Such a good moment. Oh, man. Just got absolutely destroyed. I can't think of them off the top of my head, Mona. Let me think on that one. Oh, it was so good. All right, let's obviously we have to go to part 11 here. Just because gotta make sure we watch the extended version that I did make, because this was just so, the whole build up to this was perfect because it was at the very beginning of the stream and I almost went past him. This right here is maybe my favorite moment in the history of the stream. The history of the stream. We had just started. Look how early into this video it is. And we're just going to let this play out. This is our new horse, Gen A, by the way. I have not watched this whole thing. Steve is stabled. We haven't lost him. Our first day with Gen A. And again, I'm going to need your help with audio for... I'm ready for a great stream. Make sure that my voice isn't getting drowned out. Part 11 was... part 11, feels
part
pretty
17.
okay so far, but...
Here we go. Ooh, who's this feller?
Slow it up.
Howdy, partner.
Hey there, partner. You interested in a little friendly competition?
Oh, I most absolutely certainly am, sir.
You a shooting man? I've been looking for a challenge and I ain't found one yet.
All right. Now, I'm going to accept this for $5. Last time I did this for $5 and we had to double down, I shot the man. So we're going to hope that I don't do that again.
Huh. Why don't we find out?
Good.
So innocent.
Whoever shoots them up bottles wins. Okay.
I need my repeater, though, brother.
All right. All right. Stand alongside me. As soon as you pull your weapon and aim, we let fly.
Okay. Go.
You see that?
Maybe you were just outgunned.
I ain't happy with that, not one bit. What do you say we raise the stakes a little?
Let me get my repeater, sir. All right, now I wanted to get a different gun.
Make yourself some money.
And so I kind of panicked because I was afraid if I walked away, I wasn't going to be able to double up. Absolutely have to have. Because that guy has a better gun than I do. So now I'm like, I got to hurry because this guy... No, sir. Is going to think I don't want to do it. You just got to give me a second. You got yourself a repeater. I got a handgun. All right, let's go. $10.
Well, I still owe you some, so come and get... What in the hell?
No! What the fuck? Well, friends, I bet you're wondering how I got myself into this mess. It was already a great moment. It was already a great moment. I'm aware that I pointed my gun at him, but I was trying to hold the freaking right mouse button so that he would give me my $10 or so that I could take him up on his $10. Then all of a sudden Arthur pulls his freaking gun on him. God damn it. Well. All right. I'm totally aware of why it happened. I just don't like that it happened. So obviously we got to do something about the body. I can't just leave a dead guy on the dock. So I figure let him drift down the river. Dear Lord, as I watch this man float down the river, slave to the terrible decision that I did make today, I'd like to take my hat off and stand in this river and ask for your forgiveness. May this man rest in peace. May he be welcomed through your pearly gates. Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh God! The Lord doth come in the form of an alligator. Are you fucking... I had no idea that could happen. I had no idea that that could happen. Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! I'm like sweating. Oh my God! It was it was insane how well timed that was. Absolutely insane how well timed that was. I couldn't do that again if I tried. I couldn't do that again if I tried. This whole episode was just pure chaos. Like all the way around. Like we did so much shit in this episode. It was just a mess. Just all around. Huge mess. That moment is, I mean, just holy cow. All right, so let's go up here. I'm gonna run through some clips. Where's my hat? I need a bath too, that's for sure.
What the?
Ooh, this guy had it rough. Everybody's just
Here's none of my concern.
everybody's just a little passed out in here, I'm afraid. Brutal. Okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. And then was always my relationship with horses.
We're cool.
Good.
Just back off.
No! Fuck! No! No! I hit the wrong button! No! No! Son of a bitch! No! 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 All that work! No! No! Oh, God. No! No! Oh, man. Okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. Not great. It was not great. Just checking. Okay. Yep.
And
These
the
pipes do
OSHA.
look good.
Just OSHA, man.
I do hope you all wear your clothes told. Sir? No, don't mind me, sir. I'm just OSHA. I'm just OSHA. I'm just OSHA, sir. Jesus Christ. Oh, my God. Holy shit. Oh, Jesus. Just checking. Okay, yep, these. Not great. Not great. And obviously, how could you forget about poker? Ooh, King Jack. All right. All right, we're going to raise here, but we're not going to raise a ton because I want her to play on this. We'll go 10 cents. Now, she's high stack, so she might try to bully me around here.
I'll bet this.
Ooh, she raised. Okay. All right, Miss Grimshaw. I'll go all in. No, actually, I don't want to go. Do I want to go in? Yeah, I'll go all in. Let's go. Buck 87. All in.
I better go all in.
Call the bluff.
Brave or
Ooh, let's go.
all right. Here.
Oh, she's on ace queen? No, I'm on king jack. No.
Proper hand.
Oh, she hit the eight.
Or am I bluffing? Well then.
Are you kidding?
Okay.
We both
Brutal.
hit two pair?
It was
Susan's
brutal.
Both hit two pair? You have to be kidding me.
Not even fair, man. Not even fair.
Absolutely ridiculous. New Psychology Today picture. Yes. Yes. Oh, nope. That's not the... Hey!
Come on, Mr.
Hey!
Callahan, I'm relying on you.
Hey!
Only making it worse.
Get your asses back here! Get your asses back here, boys!
Come on, shitbag.
This is why, Naj. Yep. I ain't got time for this.
Bastard. Damn bastard. Get the hell.
No! Why
Wasn't
did I
supposed to
pull
do
my
that.
gun out?
Wasn't supposed to do that.
I
Oops.
thought I was gonna punch him. Why did I?
You've said plenty. What are you waiting for? I'm out here. Now get out to the others. Come on. The train is slowing down to go through the station. Now's our chance. Get to the side.
Oh my god! I'm so glad we got to do this again so I can see that.
You've said plenty.
You man.
I love this moment so much.
This is one of my top probably 3 moments in the game. Well, I can't do any other gender handling, so I guess you're gonna have to settle for manhandling. Ah, man. I feel so bad for that guy. I could have chucked my lasso a little bit earlier. Oh shit! Jesus Christ! Oh, I'm so sorry, ma'am. I'm so sorry. I'm still getting used to working these boots in. You know how it is. You know, you walk up steep enough of a hill and you ain't cut the traction into your boots. It can be a little rough. I'm so sorry, miss. Ooh, boy. Never was much good at carrying a lady up in the woods. Man.
One more.
Bad for that guy.
Oh,
I
man.
my lasso a little bit earlier.
I love this one so much.
Oh shit! Jesus Christ! Oh, I'm so sorry, ma'am. I'm so sorry. I'm still getting used to working these boots in. You know how it is. You know, you walk.
God.
Jesus! We could have just grabbed him. My God, Arthur. No! What are you doing? What are you doing? I want to hog tie him. Not punt him into the river. I'm so bad at this. Look at this horse.
It's Gen A.
Oh, shit! Oh, my God! Yo! Hey, I reckon you ain't got anybody to take care of you. I'm gonna let that one go, but I don't know that I'm gonna ever be... Ooh, we're gonna have some trust issues here, friend. Hey. Can I help you?
This got 3,000 views today on
Just
TikTok.
my luck.
Oh!
God damn it.
Oh my God! I mean, while we're here. I might have it somewhere, Matt. Oh God. So we loot him. Why not? Can I help you? Oh wait, hold on. That one's already been done. Let's see. We gotta go bareback here for a minute. Hope more horse shenanigans. Oh shit!
Let's go.
I cannot catch a break tonight. Oh my God.
Help me! Help me! I've been kidnapped!
Fellas. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Help me! Help me! I've been kidnapped!
Oh man, every time, man. I gave you a chance, mister. I told you. This is one of the darker moments. One of the darker moments of the stream here. I tried to make my point.
Shit, hell.
Good luck to you, sir.
Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you, he says as he walks away. Oh my God. Okay, so that moment was really bad, and then it teed up. The best part was that it teed up this next moment, which was just pure karma.
I better keep the blood.
It was absolutely perfect the way that it all worked out. So I went down, I threw that guy in the water, I looted this house, and then we're coming up a trail, and there's this fine lady just chilling on the side of the road. Okay, this is literally 5 minutes. 5 minutes after this.
It hurts so bad.
What's the matter, lady?
What happened, man?
My horse threw me, and I landed on my foot, and I heard a snap. My legs all numb. Hands up
That face.
now.
Do it. I ain't gonna repeat myself.
I deserve this.
Fine.
Hold it.
Guess you got me, lady.
Got it, fellas.
Nice, lady.
Don't you try nothing, yokel.
Come on, let's go. Quick. Come on, before this idiot gets smart. What did he have on him?
We can count later. Let's fly, boys.
I deserved it. I deserve that. I absolutely 100% deserve that.
Hope the night folk get you, you son of a
First the
bitch.
Lord doth
Hang
come
you
in the
from a
form of
tree.
an alligator. Then the Lord doth come. Oops, wrong one. Okay, there we go. Let's start this over. And we, of course, getting off your horse is always tough.
Hope the night folk get you, you son of a bitch, and hang you from a tree.
Okay. Well,
I don't exactly look competent right now doing that, but
Yeah, this is it. Damn the police. Damn every one of them. Traitor. Come on.
thank you, Jay.
Let us not wait.
Volcano ain't the only thing that's gonna blow tonight. Appreciate so much that you do this with me. So many times. So many
Y'all
times.
just gonna act like that didn't happen?
Appreciate so much that you do. Oh my god.
Stop it. I ain't wrong. It's you that's wrong. We was trying.
I'm so mad, man. I got so over it.
Wounds like that'll kill you if you aren't careful. He's lucky he just lost the arm.
You want to get changed? What are you doing? He's just gonna stand. He's just gonna stand in front of the shop, covered in this guy's blood. You walk in there, you're like, "Sir, I'd like to buy me a medical tonic," and he's got dried blood just across his face and his arms. Jesus, what happens if somebody else comes in here?
Wounds like that'll kill you if you aren't careful.
All right, so then if we go to part 20, we
All right,
had,
that's it. Storm's go. Oh no, it's okay.
So 20 was a good one because we followed up and found, I believe this is where we found old Jim Boy Calloway, if I recall correctly. Maybe it was 20, maybe it was 21. I think it might have been 21. Had gun 23. Okay, so 23 is when we had the infamous Crucifer showed up after we had a conversation with Jim Boy, and I want to find that moment because it was absolutely classic, and I gotta remember. Yeah, here we go. So we
Whose cousin?
My cousin.
I never shot no one, didn't deserve it.
I do, Mona.
You shot Jed Calloway.
And I told you then I'd shoot you too. And I would've if you'd shown up.
I was there.
No, you weren't. You left town.
You take that back.
But I don't care now. It's nigh on 20 years ago. We're old men. We're lucky.
Fight me.
You're an old man.
Come on, fight me.
It's a bit late, isn't it?
God damn you.
So we kill him. Love that. And I think to myself, why don't we take the man up? There we go. Come on. You can do it. Come on. Give him a good funeral.
There we go.
As we've done many
Hey.
times. There we go. Okay. That's cool, Super Chip. I know. I ain't treated you right. I know. This is Sinead. This is when we found Sinead. Now. I was not paying attention to the radar. Look at the radar. I was not paying attention
Calloway.
to it. Not at all. There's a red dot. Red dot. Right here. I didn't see it. And as the rains fell, the mighty Jim Boy Calloway, a man who had guns slung harder than any of the gunslingers that there ever was, a man who was as good with the drink as he was. What the fuck? Oh my god! What the fuck? What was that? I had no idea. I had no idea, man. No idea.
Take a pamphlet.
No way. No way.
The facts are simple. Life is war, and the war is between races. Hey, damn it! Knock it off before you cause any real trouble. Oh my God!
You best get. The law will be all over.
I love the guy who yells, "Oh my god."
That's good, girl.
There was nothing to say. There was nothing to say. No way. No way.
The facts are simple. Life is war, and the war is between races. Hey, damn it! Knock it off before you cause any real trouble. Oh my God!
You best get. The law will be all over this.
Oh my god. Nobody cares. The Gilded Age of Prosperity. How do you become a baron of industry? Oh my god. I just wanted to read my book. Where's a man got to go to read around this town? Oh. Let's try here. Again. How do you become a baron of industry? It is simple, my friend, and I have it figured out.
Looking for Gavin. He's my best friend. He left me.
You have got to be fucking kidding me. I just want to read my book. I just want to read my book. The Gilded Age of Prosperity. The timing on that could not have been more perfect. Like, of all the things to happen while I'm trying to read the book, not only am I trying to get away and have it be quiet, of all the things to happen, we hear him yell, we hear, Kevin! I could not believe that that happened while I was trying to read the book, man. It was so perfect. Oh, man. This motherfucker lights up a pipe after he just diagnosed me with tuberculosis? Are you fucking kidding me? I don't think there is anything more infuriating to me in this entire goddamn game than this motherfucker doing that. What? Are you what? Jesus. This motherfucker lights up a pipe after he just diagnosed me with tuberculosis? Are you fucking kidding me? I don't think there is anything more infuriating to me. I wasn't ready for that at all. I was just not ready for that, man. Not even a little bit. Oh, God. Fitta, good to see you. Oh, no. Hey, you could at least say you're sorry.
Hey!
Oh, no. Oh.
Hold up!
There's some kind of issue.
Never mind, asshole. The group continually gets met with "I do know" in the form of how Dutch always responds. This is terrifying. Please no train. 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 Oh my god, this is terrifying. This clip would have been so much better if there was actually a train that showed up. Like, I'm a little bit disappointed that we didn't get a train, but this was terrifying. When you don't want to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
But he is wrestling with a giant, and the giant wins time and again. You've broken my heart again, and I fear I have broken yours. For that, I will never forgive myself, but you must let me go now. I enclose a ring you gave me many years ago.
Nice outfit,
when we were
Ryan.
both young. Not because I don't like it, but because I care for it far too much, and it reminds me too much of you. I hope one day you'll find some people in love who can use this, for it kept me thinking of you all these years, and I hope by returning it to you, I can finally be free. Goodbye, Mary.
Oh, God. Are you kidding me?
But he is wrestling.
Yeah, I was not prepared to hear that he got tuberculosis, but I wasn't really I wasn't surprised. Caboozle. All right, here we go. Here we go. This has got to be a sound. This is going to be a sound bit at some point.
I found Micah.
No.
I got a lead. One of his boys wanted for murdering a woman. Been seen drinking in Strawberry. If we can get to him, he'll lead us to Micah. But I gotta go now. You coming?
No. He's not coming.
I will.
That's your business. His business is here.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll ride with you.
John! No! No! No!
I found Micah.
No. Business. His business is here.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll ride with you.
John! No! No! No!
Business. His business is here.
That's not how I felt the whole epilogue.
Yeah, I'll ride with you.
John! No! 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 The whole thing was just like, come on. Like, you have got to be kidding me, John. You have got to be kidding me. Oh man, that killed me. That is absolutely killed me. That was how John handled that. Like it was so brutal. It was just, oh my God. Now I want to find. I wish I could remember which episode specifically I killed the moose in. I don't know if anybody knows that off the top of their head. I tried to look around for it a little bit earlier today and I couldn't find it. And I know that it was like somewhere toward when we had gotten to the Murphy area. We had gotten out of Saint Denis. We were out of Guarma. It had to have been like somewhere in like the late 20s, I think. Yeah, that's gotta be. Welcome in for part 28. That's gotta be a sound at some point. And the train driving, yeah. Oh, Skog, you're the best. You are the best, Skog. All right, part 28, timestamp 2:05:25. I don't know what I would do without you, Skog. All right, here we go.
Long story, but things ain't been good, John.
You're telling me.
We're holed up now in the mountains to the north, near Roanoke Ridge, some caves there.
Is this it?
The Pinkertons caught up with us again, and we had to move.
Yeah. Seems Molly ratted us out, the bitch. So she's dead too.
Jesus. Maybe you should have just left me to hang.
Are you sure? Are you sure, Skag? This is episode 28.
I should warn you, Dutch didn't want us breaking you out. said it wasn't the right time, so... Might not be the hero's welcome you're imagining.
So much for no man left behind. I can't stop thinking about this. In the bank, when they grabbed me, he saw it. Felt almost like he had a moment to do something and didn't.
Dutch ain't himself right now. Or maybe he just ain't who we thought he was.
Guess.
Oh, here it is. Here it is. All right, I'm gonna let this play really quick. I'm gonna run to the restroom, but this was it. Damn. So we were looking for the moose. We found the moose, and then it created an amazing sequence of events. I'm just gonna let this play out. This was maybe my favorite sequence in the entire game. So if you weren't here for this, just enjoy. So cool. Oh, my internal caveman is just like freaking out right now. Holy shit. Look at that.
I know, girl. Just give me a second.
Wow. That was awesome. It's a moose chase. So then we went for a little bit of a ride in the storm after I figured out where to go. Man, I big hate these guys. These guys. Easy. Oh shit! Nope. Just keep going. Keep going, girl. You're faster. You're faster than the wolves. Keep going. Oh my God! And Crucifer! No! 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 This pelt is getting to the fur trader, whether Crucifer wants to stop us or not. Come on, girl. Come on, girl. We will not live in fear. We will not live in fear. Holy shit. Coming down in sheets. Ooh, thank you, Matt. All right. I keep hearing the doors in my... No! Keep it going, girl. Keep it going, girl. Just us versus the wild, baby. We ain't messing around with any of them wild animals. Us versus nature. Oh, wow. Look at that. Can we just take a second to appreciate this storm with Saint Denis in the background like that? What a hell of a shot this is. stand by everything that I'm about to say. And chat, why don't we just watch a lovely sunrise while we're at it, huh? We're just going to take this in for a second, because this is amazing. If this was real life, I'd be stopping right here and just taking this in. Storm clears. Sun's coming up. We've had a rough go at it. Just the sound. Yeah, why not, Mona? Sure. Man. What is that? I want to know what that is. Apparently that's a loon. Somebody in the comments said that it was, that's what it was. Chad, I would like to use this moment, what he's about to say, to thank you for being here. I appreciate all of you hanging out with me for these streams. I love interacting with you while we play this, and that you're here to watch this live with me and just enjoy how incredible these moments are. Those of you that watch the VOD, if you're watching it right now, thank you so much for being here and supporting the stream that way. I know that some of you become members, or you'll sub while I'm not online to say thank you, so I just want to say thank you for doing that. Make sure you leave a comment. I love reading them. I don't respond to all of them, but I do read them. Just overall, I'm really grateful for everybody being a part of this community and, you know, interacting with it in whatever ways you do. And I hope that you will continue to support the channel no matter what we play in the future. This has been a lot of fun. So, to the members, thank you. And this will always be free for you to access. I hope that you learn a little something when you play these games with me. I hope that my analysis adds something to it. I understand why people love this game. It's really fabulous. Really cool. Just such an amazing moment. Okay, so Matt, you said trespassing is part 23 to 11. I'm guessing part 23 of the live. Part 23, 21150. Oh. All right, got ourselves some elk pelt, elk antler. Jay, thank you for the 20 bucks, dude. Appreciate that. Also, congratulations again on hitting the jalapeno.
Back to our
Kickstarter. regularly scheduled programming. Let's go. Come on. Let's do a little night ride down. Mason, I'm glad to hear that, buddy. What's this? What we got here? Guy set really good boundaries, and I just didn't listen.
I'm not buying it, and I don't want it. I said I'm not buying it, and I don't want it.
I ain't selling nothing.
You're all bastards, bastards.
You talking to me? Sir.
A man's home is his castle.
I understand. Oh! Jesus! Respect people's boundaries. Don't trespass. Oh, God. Not great. Not great. Firm boundaries. Firm. Very firm. Very firm boundaries. Well, anyway, those were I'm not gonna do the KKK clip, Mona, because I'd like to reduce the amount of KKK representation in this game. I will say maybe another one of my favorite moments was the women's voting, like the women's suffrage movement when Arthur was on the cart. That was pretty great. I don't remember what episode I drove the train, so if any of you know which episode that was, I'm willing to show that. But those were some of the fun moments that we had on the stream, and I enjoyed them. Yeah, I don't remember what episode I drove the train on, but I know that my face was like, that was a very exciting moment. So many good moments. And I mean, we could probably spend 3 hours just looking at clips, but I'm sure by now, if anybody's watching this, you probably saw most of those moments. Feel free to make clips. I do enjoy having those. We can convert some of them into TikToks. Episode 29. All right, we'll watch the train, and then we'll by others to be. Oh! I got one other thing. I would just like to point out in this same episode, just want to point out this moment. Background for this, okay? So there is a phenomenon that happens sometimes when people are experiencing something or have a conviction or doing something that cuts across what is expected of them or what is even like societally accepted or whatnot. One of the most core, easy to spot if you know what it looks like, defense mechanisms to throw people off a trail is projection. Projection in this form being, I have either thought of something or I am doing something. And as a way to get people off the trail of figuring out that it's me, I'm going to say that it must be somebody else, or I'm going to actively hate that thing so that people never suspect that it's me. One of the common things we used to see, or one of maybe the more stereotypical versions of this that we see, is when a person who is gay is incredibly strongly outwardly homophobic as a way to deflect the idea that they themselves could be perceived by others to be gay. Another one is if a person thinks of doing something that is out of the norm of what would be considered in the group. One of the ways that a person sometimes shows their hand is by accusing other people of something that doesn't make sense. Correct, Mona. I am saying all of this because there is a part of me that wonders if Micah is the mole. Where he has decided to inflict chaos in the group for whatever personal gain he has, that he is tipping off the Pinkertons. And and it is a way to defend from being the mole, he is strongly pushing the narrative that there must be a mole. Because why on earth would the mole push that narrative? You wouldn't want people looking into there being a mole if you're the mole. Again, if we go... Proud of that moment. Really proud of that moment. Because that is second to, in my life, to calling Game of Thrones. I made a call in Game of Thrones that was like 3 seasons ahead of when it was revealed, and Allie about died when I said it out loud, and she already knew. It was great. But I'm proud of that call. You could just tell, you could see it all the way. Oh, this is awesome. Such a good moment. No, Skog. The truth about Jon Snow. I'm so happy right now. Oh, yeah. Uh-oh. Such a cool moment, man. There's something amazing about operating heavy machinery like this. It's such a powerful feeling. Driving the train, driving the train. Look at that, with Sinead running behind us. Let everybody know we're coming in. So good. It's so fun. So fun. Just a great game. Such a fun game. Such a fun game. Yeah, horses in a stable car would have been pretty neat. Would have been pretty neat. So, so I guess I would be. I always like to ask this when we get to this point of the wrap up, which is, and if you're watching the VOD, if you've made it this far through the VOD, I would love it if you would leave a comment for this. Like, what was all of your favorite parts? Was there a certain part of the game that was your favorite? Was there a certain piece of analysis that you liked the most? Was there some piece of chaos that made you laugh extra hard? Like, I always love to hear just your reactions to the playthrough. The good, the bad, the disappointing, the exciting, like all of it. I'm a huge fan of feedback. I always loved feedback when I was a teacher, and I would love feedback on this run. I try to take some of the feedback that you all give me on these and put it into the next game. Like, for example, I left my camera on during the cutscenes because a lot of people have asked for me to do that, and so that's something that I'm going to keep doing, I think, going forward, because people like to see my reactions. So the Charles Art Show, that was a fun moment. I enjoyed that moment a lot. I like the randomness potential of this game a lot. So many times you would set off to do something and we'd end up doing 3 other things along the way, and it was always fun. I agree. It really helped keep things mixed up. It was great. The art show. The art show was something. I'm going to miss this game. Yeah. The VODs will always be available. Definitely Rainsfall pleading his son Eagle Flies to not fight at a camp. That shit made me tear up. It was a brutal moment. Brutal moment. For sure. Just to see the difference in generation. To see people trying their best to make something work, and it was futile all the way around. I love that you did a bunch of stranger missions before saving Jack. Thank God that worked out okay. The gang walk up to the mansion to get Jack. The ride charging ride all lined up. The oil factory, the unshaken ride, the Pinkerton attack on the camp. Great moments. I agree. Beaver Hollow was depressing, but so interesting. One moment, though, is like your passing of the hat moment for me was when Arthur was riding back to camp after saving Abigail. I knew then that his time was up, and I sobbed. Yeah. The songs with Arthur's rides are something else. I agree. I remember you said going into the game that you weren't going to do all the side quest stuff, but you did, and it gave us some great moments. Yeah, I tried to do as much of it as I could. That made sense. I knew I wasn't going to 100% the game. I got 82% done, which honestly feels pretty good. Also, for anybody who's curious, the amount of hours total was 105. That's what Steam tells me. 105 hours was how long it took. And I remember being told it would probably take somewhere in the 90s. So I'm not surprised that there's a couple hours worth of just me talking on top of playing the game. There were so many moments. I'm going to be really curious to see Sean's experience of making clips for this and putting them on TikTok, because there are a million markers on every episode. I will say that every episode felt like we had something to talk about. Like multiple instances where I was able to pause and say something. And that was really remarkable. Standouts for me would be the drinking mission with Lenny and your approach to boundary explanation in regards to the Mary mission. Super insightful, really enjoyable. I'm glad you enjoyed, Martin. Part with Charlotte actually kind of hurt, man. Can't imagine being in her shoes. Your additions to the game made it easier to empathize with the different characters throughout the game, though. I'm glad. I liked Margaret's mission, collecting the animals. It was fun. Enjoyed bringing Bingo over. Yes, that was awesome, Brian. Big shout out to you for doing that, dude. Big shout out to you for doing that. This is a heavy game. I would also be curious if there is any part of the game or any person within the game that my analysis affected your opinion of. Like, I would be curious about that too. Like, those of you that have played the game before, did anything I said affect how you saw anything in the game, for better or for worse? I just love the way Arthur changed his ways. The deer scenes, his death. I can't articulate why, but this game's so special to me, and experiencing it with everyone has been a hell of a ride. There's a lot of development. I mean, I think that's one of the beautiful parts of this, is there's not a lot of characters who stay static. Everybody develops in their own way, sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. Charles Chantenay kissing Arthur was very funny. Please don't do that again. I love Arthur's reaction to that. That was pretty great. Charles Chantenay. When he was all dressed up when he wanted to go to the boat, that was perfect. Absolutely perfect. I just think one of the cool aspects of this game, and I had said this before about Detroit, and I think I said this about The Last of Us as well. I think one of the hallmarks of good writing, as a therapist and psychologist when I play games like this, one of the things I appreciate about writing is when the way that characters show up in interactions and generally fill the world, when it makes sense, like even if it's something that we're not a big fan of, consistency relative to a character's development, I think is super important. And Rockstar did an incredible job making sure that the characters all did things that made sense. Like, I could explain why a lot of people did the things that they did. And that was really meaningful to be able to do. There wasn't really anything where I was like, what? Where I didn't fully understand why a person would do a certain thing. Your analysis on Sadie and her grief process really changed the way I look at my own grief process. Same with Dutch's grief and John. So many amazing things about this run. Well, thank you, Shelbs. I was more critical of Dutch. First time around, I was charmed by his charisma. Sad thing is, I would have stuck with him for a long time because I just long for a father figure so much. I think that's the case for a lot of folks in the group, Sophie. Powerful. All the conversations and reiterations of boundaries on all sides with Mary and Dutch and Arthur and John. Yep, boundaries are super important. Conversation to Dutch were super interesting. Like, I don't think I would have picked up on the ledger thing until you pointed it out. Yeah. That subtle stuff says so much about characters and their motivations and where they're at. The fact that you had to upgrade Dutch's quarters first before anybody else, not a good sign of leadership. Yeah, Dutch uses the Native Americans for his own means. Pretty shitty. Pretty shitty. The whole epilogue, actually. The first time I played it, I couldn't wait to go and kill Micah, but I now have a whole different perspective on John and his family. Yeah, you know, I was pleasantly surprised by the epilogue. We were able to have a lot of really great conversations in the epilogue episodes that I did not realize we would have. I didn't know that the epilogue existed. So the fact that we even switched to playing as John Marston was kind of like, holy shit. But there was a lot of really good stuff in the epilogue to talk about. Especially, I think for me, what stood out in the epilogue was the conversations about John and Uncle and Uncle's influence. I have a hard time empathizing with Uncle in the epilogue. Your analysis on Mary and Arthur and the power of saying no, putting up boundaries and how it's not a bad thing, something that helped with friends who I didn't want to associate with anymore. Yeah, man. Saying no is powerful. You control your interactions in your environment, not always just through saying no, but also through saying yes. And the important part is for all of us to understand that we are in control. That your choices, how you respond to folks, what you say, what you do, it all matters. Yeah, you know, so many people expressed disappointment that my boundaries led to not seeing certain parts of the game. And you know what? That's okay. FOMO is not a good reason to break your boundaries. Like, we don't get to use... A point that I will make in every game we ever play is that you do not get to use hindsight to make sense of the present. Like, video games... It's such an interesting position to be in if you're a person who has already played a video game and you watch somebody play it for the first time, because it's easy to use hindsight to try to contextualize things, to say things like, you know, finish the Strauss missions, it's worth your while. I don't know that with the information that I have, and I'm not going to break my boundaries on the off chance that it could work out. So we have to work with the known quantities we have in our life. And you don't get to use hindsight to erase things you did in the past or to change them. You can use hindsight to make better decisions in the future. But there are things you miss out on when you set boundaries. And that's okay, chat. Because sometimes you miss out on stuff that would hurt you. You don't have to see everything. You don't have to be involved in everything. You don't have to know everyone and everything. Protect yourself with boundaries. Doesn't mean you have to be overly rigid. You can be flexible, but know what your boundaries are and maintain them when you need to. Gareth, good to see you, buddy. It was really fun to have conversation. I have to give a quick shout out to all of you. It was really fun to have conversations with all of you throughout this playthrough, to answer questions as they came up, to see some of the things that you all noticed. I will reiterate once again, I don't claim to be right about everything that I say. It's just the way that my brain works. It's the way I analyze stuff. I'm sure there's stuff I missed, stuff I probably would be wrong on if I had a chance to talk to the characters. You know, I do my best. I use these games to illustrate psychological concepts. And so far, we're doing pretty well with the games that we've chosen. Oh, is a random encounter ninja? Yeah. Kind of like Abigail in the scenes where John's doing nice things because he's about to propose. I'm not used to receiving affection from others, so I flinch away from it. Good thing to realize. Because, yeah, Abigail's response to John when he's trying to be nice to her was not ideal. And I understand why it was protective, why she's trying to take care of herself, make sure she doesn't get hurt. But she's working with an unknown quantity instead of a known quantity in that moment. I can't emphasize that enough, chat. You live your life working with known quantities, it makes a lot of decisions a lot easier. When do you realize you shouldn't punish behavior like that? Yeah, you can punish desirable behavior. You can reward undesirable behavior. And that's one of the key parts of behaviorism to understand. A lot of what we do and how we show up in interactions is to protect ourselves. We use our learned experiences to make sense of new and novel moments. And that's okay. It's part of human nature. But it's important to understand our biases. It's important to understand when we're interacting in a way that's in a misplaced context. Because that can really strongly affect sometimes the way we show up in ways that we really don't want to if we were to ask ourselves objectively if that's how we want to show up. So... I'm trying to think if I have any final thoughts. I'll say another shout out to Rockstar. Rockstar, thank you for what you created. You really knocked it out of the park. I enjoyed it. Thanks for giving me something to use as a teaching tool for so many folks who wouldn't otherwise have access to this type of information. It is my absolute privilege to share my expertise and training through these mediums. You wrote a story that was consistent. It was reliable. It was meaningful. It was dynamic, and it was something that made it so that I could illustrate more complex concepts than just boring, typical Psych 101 stuff. So big shout out to Rockstar for what you've created. As I offer to every game studio, if you ever see this, I am more than happy to serve as a consultant for certain things to make sense psychologically, or to, talk through the types of concepts that might be present in a given circumstance, and to flesh those out. And I hope maybe if anybody at Rockstar ever sees this playthrough, that my playthrough of this has proven that. You can always contact me. I also want to say thank you, chat, for being here along the way and for making it something that I did not by myself, but with so many wonderful people. And for all the VOD watchers, thank you for supporting my channel. Whether you watched this shortly after it was live or whether you're watching this years down the road, I hope that this playthrough has held up and that you enjoyed it and that you're glad you made it all the way through 38 episodes if you include the wrap-up. Because it's a long journey. I mean, hell, we started this in October 2021 and we finished it in December 2021. So it was a 2-month journey on stream side. So... If anybody in chat has any final thoughts about the run, I'm open to that. And then after that, I'll play guitar for a little bit. You have a eulogy for Arthur. Here lies a man who took longer than we would hope to learn that he could do good, that you don't have to see yourself as good to do good, that you can choose good at any point in your life, and the man did. And he saw what he was capable of, and he was able to reauthor his narrative as a result, potentially redeem himself in the eyes of himself, and that matters, and that all of us could learn a little something from Arthur Morgan. He worked hard. He stood by his convictions. He tried to hold folks accountable. And when he realized that life is finite, realized that he has decisions to make at any given point in time, upon reflection, he started to realize that he could make choices that were in line with his values, not in line with the values that he thought he should have. And it created a meaningful experience for him. And I hope that all of us can take that and use it to realize that from this moment forward, you can always make the decision to do well by yourself and by other folks. No gators, no cougar, no nothing. Y'all are great. Thank you for being here. And thanks again, Rockstar. Thank you for coming out for the wrap up. Again, if you're watching the VOD, make sure you follow. Make sure you give me a thumbs up if you like the run. Leave a comment. I love reading them. And I'll catch you on the next game, which is Cyberpunk 2077.